I'm George Cade, I'm the Chief Exec at the Online Dating Association, been there for 2 years. My background was with government and most recently being Chief Exec of a regulatory organisation in the telecoms space. I was asked to come in and work with the ODA because of the industry's recognition that we need to develop standards, value and public trust. We're a part of the social fabric, and it's important that the industry was seen to be stepping up. The ODA has been around 2 years. We're just into our 3rd year. It was set up by 12, then 13 founding companies, dating companies. And they had approached me because of my background in premium rate regulation and codes and standards, and said, would I come and talk with a colleague about whether there was a case for a trade association, what the essential parts of that construct would be. And then when we did the report and the answer was yes, you should, the question was, well, would you stay on and make this thing happen? It's a significant industry, more significant in terms of the use, the public use of it, and the social kind of significance of it, necessarily than the size. In pure turnover terms, it's a relatively small industry compared to others that would have trade bodies, farmers, motor manufacturers, retailers. But when 20, 30, 35% of the population are meeting using online dating services and apps, when there's 7 to 10 million people in Britain registered with dating services, you're above the radar, you've got a social responsibility, and it wasn't enough for the companies to act individually, there was a need for them to act collectively as well. In the founders around the table, we had Match, we had eHarmony, Guardian Soulmates came in, we had Dating Lab and Dating Factory as white label providers, but we also had Free Dating, we had My Single Friend, we had Muddy Matches, Christian Connections, and that kind of mix of niche specialist provision really mattered. Asian Single Solutions, we had a real blend of people, and that's kept growing, and I wanted to keep growing. As an industry, yes, it's young, and in a non-critical way, it can be immature. Maturity it does what it says on the tin. It comes with age. If you look at advertising regulation, it's been around 50 or 100 years. It matures. So there is that challenge about everybody coming to the party and recognising the need to invest in standards and the collective action. So very practical stuff. All the practical stuff really should anchor back to that issue of standards and public trust. In terms of standards, the first has to be the code of practice. As far as I know, this is unique around the world as a code of practice. Unique in terms of it's short, it's outcomes based, but also in terms of the membership and the coverage. So it deals pretty well with niche companies, with mainstream brands, with white label companies. It should deal pretty well with apps. But so the code was the starting point, and the membership test that came off it. Then I think it's voice, eyes and ears. I think, coming back to that social significance, we have to engage with commercial entities who effectively control the environment in which we work, the people that process payments, the people that carry the services, the people that facilitate the advertising. So there's proper regulators, there are commercial regulators, and we've got to engage because they've got to understand us, otherwise we get the unintended consequence. I think the internet service providers issue is work in progress. Every internet service provider was under an obligation to the government to consult their users about access controls for unwanted content. Unwanted content really for me was extreme content. It was pornography, it was illegal content, it was weapons, it was race hate. But the internet service providers, generally, one or two exceptions, consulted across a broader spectrum of things, saying to their users, look, if you've got filters and tools, we can allow you to decide what you want to filter and control. And a lot of parents would say, well, we don't want our kids looking at dating sites, or we don't want our kids looking at social media when they should be doing homework, or we don't want them playing games all day long. So they were offering a far broader mix of things. Dating was part of it, and they all said, we went to focus groups and we talked to groups and parents specifically about should we have access to these sites within the filter package, and the answer was yes. So when we spoke to the internet service providers, we were not kicking and screaming and saying it's not fair. We were saying, look at dating for what it is on mainstream dating. It's social networking, it's relationship building. You're not going to find extreme content, you're not going to find hatred. Therefore, filter it at an appropriate level. And some did, and one or two still have that filter set with dating sitting in there alongside kind of sex entertainment sites. So I think there is an issue for us, but I have to recognise that the internet service providers were saying, well, I can search for dating and I can find adult online dating, which has pretty extreme content. So we have to recognize both the reality of the mainstream industry, but also the fact that there's another community out there. In terms of future plans, I'm torn between, you know, the sensible, and I'm boring in Scottish, and the kind of the ambitious, because I'm ambitious at the same time. We've got to grow our membership. That's not just I want to be bigger, that's we want to be truly representative and be able to engage with stakeholders and say we do speak for the industry at large. That means really engaging with the mobile app companies. And that in turn means we have to look at our codes, our process, our governance, how we go forward, because the world has changed in these 2.5 years, and we will have to think how we change as an organisation. If I was ambitious, I do think this model is unique around the world and it is fantastic in what it's achieved. And I do think it has the legs to travel. Whether we go with it or I go with it, that's for others to decide. But I think a lot of countries could learn from what the industry's done here.